So you're about to start a new campaign, and you have some ideas of your own. Maybe you ran a pre-written campaign already and want to expand into your own world. Or maybe you have an urge to do something you just can't find in the pre-written campaigns that you've read. Or maybe you're just a world builder at heart, and you know that this is for you. Building a world and then running a game in it is one of the most exciting things a dungeon master can do. I'd like to welcome you to the world of Homebrew, the place where we take the rules framework of D&D and build a new arena for our players to explore. This video will get you started and hopefully into the right mindset for how to make your own world an enjoyable space for your players. Welcome to the Dungeon Masters Academy. Now, right out of the gate, let's touch on the most important thing here, and it has to do with sharing. I want to clarify a major issue that plagues so many Dungeons & Dragons games, and the root of this issue is the first line of the introduction of the D&D Player's Handbook, and it states, "The Dungeons & Dragons role-playing game is about storytelling in worlds of swords and sorcery." Sounds okay, but I want to change one word in that line. Storytelling should be story building. Telling a story assumes there's a story to tell, and I think this statement gives some dungeon masters the misconception that they're in charge of a story to be told. And if you want to be a good dungeon master, start by realizing that world building is not done solely by you. If you as game master write a story, this is a mistake. A story has an arc, characters, plot, a resolution, and these are all predetermined things that are hard to get away from in a game where other people are involved. If players are coming to the table to participate in your story, you're no longer playing a game. You are manipulating your players through your idea. So let's start by not planning to write a story. There's a much better way. And if you feel compelled to write a story, maybe writing a book is probably a better route for you to take than running a game. Fight! Now, the best approach to world building for a tabletop role-playing game is through building a framework. The framework is a complex list of geographies, cultures, systems, and opportunities that your players can build a story within. This is the inherent beauty of Dungeons & Dragons as a story-building mechanism, and my plan in teaching you this is to give you tools to help you loosely build, so that your players can fill in the blanks. So, first takeaway, loose framework as opposed to rigid story. I often talk about this process from the standpoint of an artist. Staring at a blank page, wondering where to begin, is a tough place to be. Sometimes the blank canvas can be paralyzing if you don't know how to start. And I always say, never try to start in the void. You need to react to something. Your ideas will flow when your imagination can react to something it sees or hears. So we're making a world. Perhaps a good place to start is with what that world looks like. So let's drop some rice on a sheet of paper and trace the outline. Spill some coffee on a page and let it dry. Do a rubbing on the surface of a rock at the park. And these organic and unexpected shapes on the page become indicators of terrain, shorelines, boundaries, mountain ranges, and so forth. There's no right or wrong here. Look at what you've drawn and allow that thing to become a map in your mind. Take a pen or pencil and outline the shapes that you've created. Allow yourself to just let go and roll with it. Consider when you look at your new map, where are the plains and the mountains and the lakes and the rivers? Now, this will kick your brain into gear. Now, with your tools of choice, whether those are pens, markers, pencils, or digital cameras, Procreate, Photoshop, whatever, use this new image as your starting point. Outline it and see what you have. Keep in mind that you can make an endless amount of these organic maps easily. You might enjoy making more than one so that you have options to consider. This process could lead to a binder filled with maps to spark your imagination continuously. Now, for the purposes of this video, I will be making a continent. You can, however, use this method to develop territories, cities, caverns, or any number of places for your setting. You just have to shift your sense of scale when you're looking at the forms that you've created. You might set out to make a city map, but your process seems more like a vast open space. That's okay. Put this map aside for later when you want to create something larger and move on to the next one. Now let's determine a few geographical features. Some of the organically made marks on my paper resemble rocky coastlines, lakes, and the mouths of rivers. These seem like great starting points. Now, as you consider these new elements to your map, allow your imagination to run with what your continent looks like. Some of you may not trust your artistic skills and claim that you cannot draw. That's okay. Draw a river. A river on a map is a curvy line that winds through the terrain, and you almost can't mess that up. All right, now have a look at your land masses. Are there interesting areas that have potential in your mind? Start to consider what they look like in reality. This is perfect. And if you like this video, please subscribe to this channel. And if you're new to the world of Dungeons & Dragons, please ask questions in the comments. I also want to encourage a comments section that is productive and helpful and not demeaning and self-inflated. I'll be deleting comments that seem like they're not supportive to that goal. So ask away. All right, let's get back to the video. Now, the next thing you're going to do is determine where points of interest are. So for my continent, I'm going to look for 3 major cities and spread them out. But how do you determine where these things go? Well, look at your land masses. If a civilization were to grow on this continent, where would people want to live? Probably around resources. Water, for example. The ocean is a great supplier of food and can offer opportunities for fishermen to make a living. A coastal city makes sense, so let's start there. What other resources could be present in your world that would trigger population growth? Mountains provide ores and minerals. Forests supply timber. Plains are good for farming. Determine where 3 of these things are and lightly note them on the map. Then, I want you to create some notes about each city and determine the name, the population, the general system of governance. Like, what's the economy like in each city? So for example, for the port town, there could be guilds that control commerce, fishing, ships, docks, etc. Each of those guilds could have a guild master who oversees the regulations associated with that guild area. Perhaps the guild masters run the city. All right, wow, this is a lot to think about. So let me share some resources to help you. Now, first off, names. I have trouble naming a lot of things, and world building is going to involve a lot of naming. Now, my favorite place to go for naming things is fantasynamegenerators.com. Now, this website does not support me or this channel in any way. I just really like this website, and it's got a ton of information in it. It's a place where you can go to find names for just about anything in your world. Like I said, I love this resource. I'm going to put a link in it in the description. Now, another resource is this great book from Kobold Press. I love this. It's called Cities and Towns. There are so many points to consider in this book, and it can really help to fill out your city with necessary details. It covers everything from complex economies and governing systems to stat blocks for city inhabitants, down to lamplighters and stable grooms. Now, I'm going to put a link to this in the description as well. And know that I'm also not supported in any way by Kobold Press. Just a great book, and I love books, so I want to share those with you. Of course, the Dungeons & Dragons DM's Guide is also an invaluable resource for you. And if you're new to the game and you're looking to Dungeon Master, I would definitely pick this up. Now, if you're watching this video before the fall of 2024, keep in mind that Wizards of the Coast is about to release a whole new suite of source books for Dungeons & Dragons, including a new Dungeon Master's Guide. So maybe hold off on that purchase until those new books are out. All right, now, the last thing to keep in mind is this. You're going to have players at your table, and they will likely have backstories that come with their character builds. One strategy that I use in my world building is every player's hometown or city is built by them and added to the map. That character should have knowledge of that place and the surrounding geography, and what better way to let that happen than to let them build it? Allow the players to determine the town maps, the systems of commerce and governance, the NPCs, the shops, and so forth. This then gets added to the map that you've created, and the overall world begins to develop a flavor that is not only coming from you. All right, so your takeaways here are: 1, get into the mindset that you are making a flexible framework for your players to explore. Try to avoid writing a story. You're still going to create hooks and devices that grab your players and pull them into adventures, however. 2, don't start your creation in a void. Make a random organic map and allow it to reveal to you a world that you could not have otherwise thought up on your own. This kickstarts your imagination and gets you moving. 3, allow your players to build their own hometowns and add them to your map. By utilizing your players in this way, your world begins to build in varied and diverse ways. And honestly, some of the weight is taken off you in terms of workload. So this is a great place to start your homebrew world. And I hope you found the first video in this series helpful. Now, video number 2 is going to address the creation of political structures and tensions within your framework, which will help to add depth to what you're building. All right, everybody, I really enjoyed making this for you. I'm looking forward to the next one. Thanks very much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.